Welcome to the Secret History Channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. In 1900, in Nome, Alaska, two miners measure the gold they found during the Gold Rush, which started in 1898 and attracted thousands looking for fortune. Photo of ox teams in Sturgis, Dakota Territory, between 1887 and 1892. These teams were used to transport goods in areas with difficult roads. Tombstone, Arizona, gained fame in 1881 for the iconic gunfight involving Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, and the Clanton brothers, called the gunfight at the OK Corral. The interior of a ranch in Fremont County, Idaho, in 1872, with various firearms hanging on the wall. Some were used for hunting, others for self-defense, essential for life in the Wild West. The photo, taken in California in the early 1900s, shows cowboys branding cattle in a corral, a common practice in the Wild West to identify herds. At Doyle Ranch in Arizona, between 1887 and 1889, men played poker. The games mixed fun and tension, with bets ranging from coins to land and cattle. In 1900, miners rested at the Yellow Aster Saloon in Randsburg, California. Made of wood and canvas, the place served drinks and was a meeting point in the Wild West. Virgil Earp was a U.S. Marshal in Tombstone, Arizona. Born in 1843, he played a crucial role in the fight against notorious criminals like the Clantons. His story is marked by the famous gunfight at the OK Corral in 1881, which solidified his fame in the Wild West. The Colorado River, pioneers crossed the river in covered wagons while others used ropes to improvise crossings. River crossings were common in the Wild West in 1903, where the lack of bridges made such solutions necessary. The Deadwood Coach, taken in 1889 in Deadwood, South Dakota. The carriage was essential for transportation in the city, famous for gold mines and figures like Wild Bill Hickok. Deadwood was prosperous but also violent. Three miners push a cart loaded with camping supplies in Goldfield, Nevada. This town was one of the major centers of the Gold Rush in the early 20th century. Prospectors posed in Alaska during the Klondike Gold Rush in 1898. Facing extreme cold and challenging terrain, they sought fortune in the remote northern regions. Photo of a Sioux man taken around 1899 during a period of conflicts and pressures on Native American tribes in the Wild West. Photo taken in 1889 at John Delane's wagon shop in Broken Bow, Nebraska. The shop was essential for transportation in the Wild West, providing wagons for residents of Custer County. The photo shows Chinese miners in Tuolumne County, California, around 1866 during the Gold Rush. They faced harsh conditions but were crucial to the region's economy. Two Apache women around a campfire. At the time, the Apaches faced conflicts with the United States, fighting to preserve their land and culture in the Wild West. From 1903, the photo shows a prairie schooner, a wagon used by pioneers in the western United States on a journey from 1850. The photo shows a train at the Short Line Depot in Boise, Idaho, between 1880 and 1900. The railroad was crucial for the city's growth and the transportation of people and goods in the region. Photo from 1880 in Aberdeen, South Dakota, showing Native Americans in front of teepees. The region faced tensions between native peoples and settlers as tribes fought to preserve their lands and traditions. The railway bridge over the Kansas River, completed in 1867 in the state of Kansas, United States. This bridge was crucial for connecting regions during the railroad expansion in the Old West, facilitating the transport of people and goods. A picture from about 1900 in Kennard, Nebraska, portrays a classic Wild West saloon, complete with pool tables and stocked liquor shelves. Calamity Jane visited Wild Bill Hickok's grave at Mount Moriah Cemetery, Deadwood, South Dakota in 1903. Famous for her Wild West exploits, she was a companion of Hickok, cementing her place as an Wild West legend. Lucille Mulhall, one of the first famous cowgirls, performed at the 101 Ranch in Oklahoma around 1900. Known for her skill with horses and lassos, she excelled in rodeos and Wild West events. Tom Horn was a multifaceted man, soldier, Pinkerton detective, and gunslinger active in the American West. He is remembered for his involvement in various disputes and as part of the vigilante and territorial conflict context. Ike Clanton, born in 1847, was a member of the Cowboys, an outlaw group in 19th century Tombstone, Arizona. He participated in the legendary 1881 OK Corral shootout. William Doolin, born in 1858, founded the notorious Wild Bunch Gang. Operating in the Wild West, he took part in robberies and law conflicts, leading one of the era's infamous groups. A man is seen filling a barrel at an isolated well 30 miles north of Palomas, Arizona in 1907. Water access was crucial in the harsh Wild West desert. The Mining Exchange Building hosted the 1881 hearing about the OK Corral shootout. This historic event in Tombstone, Arizona, featured Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday against the Clantons and McClorys, becoming an iconic Wild West moment. An elderly prospector in front of his floating wooden house around 1905. He lived along a riverbank, like many gold seekers of the Wild West during the gold rush that drew thousands to the region. Wyatt Earp and Bat Masterson were iconic figures of the Wild West. Earp, known for his role in the OK Corral shootout, and Masterson, a former sheriff and gambler, lived in an era marked by violent disputes and challenges of the American frontier. Photo of a Wild West gang active in the late 19th century. Most of the 11 members died before 1900, with only 2 surviving into the early 20th century. The group became famous for their criminal actions in the American West. The photo shows Dick Latham returning in 1888 with a hunted antelope on his horse, illustrating the skills of hunters in the Wild West, where hunting was essential for survival. Irvine Ranch Farm, California, recorded in 1891. This vast ranch was one of the largest agricultural properties in the region, essential to the development of agriculture in Southern California in the late 19th century. Photo of a group of Paiute natives taken between 1860 and 1870 during a period of conflicts with settlers. The Paiutes were skilled in hunting and fishing. Kiowa, Apache, and Comanche delegation. Apache John and Big Looking Glass, Comanche, key leaders of these tribes, represented their people during negotiations with the United States government. Lieutenant Steyer and his friends near Fort Duchesne, Utah, in 1886. This fort was a key military post during the Westward expansion, where the U.S. Army faced confrontations with various native tribes, including the Ute, who lived in the area. W.H. Sims was an elite gambler and gunslinger of the Wild West, known for his skill in gambling and duels. In 1879, he became a notorious figure, challenging other men in sharpshooting skills. Photo from 1882, showing a family outside a sod house in the Wild West. These structures were common in the Great Plains, where the lack of wood forced pioneers to use soil for building. This photo shows the Holiday Overland Stage Office in Denver, Colorado, between 1865 and 1870. The company was vital for transporting mail and passengers in the Wild West as Denver grew into a trade and transport hub. Ranch house in the western Dakotas around 1888. Shelter for farmers during westward expansion, built with wood to withstand harsh winds and severe winters. Photo of Deadwood, South Dakota, taken in 1876. The town was famous for its gold mines and figures like Wild Bill Hickok and Calamity Jane, attracting many adventurers to the Wild West. Lost Medicine, Wankanyakia, Onkapapa, Sioux. Photo taken in 1872. Wankanyakia was an important figure in the Sioux tribe, whose members were in a constant struggle to preserve their culture and territory. Photo of a miner's cabin in Colorado, taken between 1898 and 1905 during the Gold Rush. Miners built simple shelters like this while searching for gold in the Rocky Mountains. 7th Cavalry Camp, Pine Ridge Agency, South Dakota, January 19, 1891. It was the site of a decisive clash between the Lakota and U.S. troops, marking the end of Native resistance in the area. In 1872, a delegation of Crow natives met with the United States government to discuss issues related to land and tribal rights. This meeting was part of the negotiations to maintain peace and define territorial boundaries. A Native American camp between 1880 and 1890 with teepees and outdoor meat drying racks. These methods helped preserve food as tribes faced westward expansion and loss of their lands. A picture from 1891 displays Native American women in an open tent. During this era, tribes endured displacement efforts while women upheld families and cultural traditions. A late 19th century grocery store is depicted, featuring signs for meats, spirits, and cigars. The entryway shows active loading and unloading, common in developing Wild West towns. John Wesley Hardin was a notorious gunslinger of the Wild West, known for his skill with firearms and involvement in numerous shootouts. Born in 1853, his life was marked by violent conflicts, and he was a central figure in Wild West tales. Tom and Frank McClory, along with Billy Clanton, are buried in Boot Hill Cemetery, renowned for housing many famous Wild West figures, especially from the OK Corral gunfight. Lao City Group in a horse-drawn carriage visiting the Dakota Hot Springs in 1889. The crowded wagon highlights the enthusiasm for group travels in the West. Klondike miners in Skyway, Alaska, 1897. During the Klondike Gold Rush, thousands of people ventured to Alaska in search of wealth. Yukon Territory, around 1897. At the time, the region gained prominence during the Klondike Gold Rush. First and Last Chance drink kiosk in Arizona, captured in 1871. This location became famous as the last stop for travelers and hunters on one of the most dangerous routes in the American West. Ranch house in the western Dakotas, around 1888. Shelter for farmers during westward expansion, built with wood to withstand harsh winds and severe winters. Geyser Springs, Sonoma County, California, around 1880. Known for its geysers and hot springs, the location attracted visitors for treatments and leisure, being popular among Old West travelers. Cowboy switching horses during a cattle roundup in South Dakota, 1890. This practice was common in the Wild West to maintain speed and efficiency while herding cattle. Officers on duty at Fort Rawlins, Wyoming, on May 7, 1877. The fort was established during the westward expansion of the United States, a time of significant changes. Johnny Ringo, an infamous outlaw, played a role in the Mason County War in 1850s Texas. He is notable for his deadly reputation and links to prominent Wild West gunslingers. Guthrie, Oklahoma, experienced rapid growth with the arrival of the land run. Many rushed to claim land, creating a thriving town within days. Guthrie was the first capital of the state until it was replaced by Oklahoma City in 1910. Seth Bullock, known as a U.S. Marshal and Sheriff of Deadwood, was a fearless frontiersman. Born in 1849, he played a crucial role in fighting crime in Deadwood during the late 19th century. Valentine T. McGillicuddy, surgeon and surveyor, took part in the Starvation March with General Crook's expedition to the Black Hills in Dakota Territory in 1876. McGillicuddy played an important role in documentation and military strategies of the time. The Horse Handler, Bonham, Texas. Photo taken in 1910. Bonham, founded in 1842, was an important stopover for traders and explorers of the Wild West. The town became known for its strong ties to cattle ranching and rodeos. Native American men with telegraph poles in the background around the 1880s to 1890s. During this period, the expansion of railroads and telegraph communication deeply impacted the lives of Native peoples. East of the Plaza, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 1866. This was the setting of a bustling period in the city, which stood out as an important hub of trade and culture in the American West after the Civil War. Piscinedwin, a member of the Potawatomi tribe, appears in this photo alongside others in 1877. The Potawatomi tribe, known for their resistance during the forced removal process, was one of the many indigenous nations displaced to the west by the United States in the 19th century. Iron rail used for wood transport with a wagon pulled by 8 horses around 1902. Flagstaff, Arizona, around 1899, was a growing city in the western United States, known for its strategic location on the railroad. David Denny, a Seattle pioneer, is shown in 1899 by a logging cabin near Lake Keechelis, Washington, exemplifying the rugged, straightforward life of early Northwestern settlers. A school in a mining camp in Nevada between 1895 and 1896. Children and teachers are in a simple building typical of mining communities in the American West. Chief Iron Bear at Fort Berthold, North Dakota, around 1866. A Mandan leader, he faced the challenges of colonial expansion, defending his lands and traditions. A woman who worked as a laundress in the Yukon Territory, Alaska, in 1902. During the Alaskan Gold Rush, many immigrants settled in the area seeking fortune, and women played essential roles, such as domestic services and laundry. A family beside a lumberjack cabin in New Mexico, around 1895. This type of dwelling was common among pioneers in the American West. Looking Glass, a Nez Perce leader, mounted on a horse in front of a teepee. Photo taken in 1877 during the period of conflicts between native tribes and the U.S. Army. Looking Glass was a key figure in the Nez Perce resistance against territorial invasion. The English Kitchen, Round Pond, Oklahoma, photo taken in 1894. Round Pond, founded in the late 19th century, was a small town that reflected rural American life of the time. First water supply works in Perry, Oklahoma Territory. In 1890, the city of Perry built its first piped water system, a significant milestone for the region's growth and development. Asabebe's Daughters, Young Comanches, photo taken between 1881 and 1885. During this period, Comanche tribes were in constant resistance against the advance of settlers and the U.S. Army. Old Wooden House, South Dakota, photo taken between 1887 and 1892. Cattle ranch in Graham County, Arizona, around 1896 to 1897. During this time, the region was a significant cattle ranching center in the American West. Birthday party at Jaker Pete Ranch, Chicago, 1880s. Events like these reflect the vibrant social life of the era, during a time marked by the expansion of railroads and industrialization in the United States. George Carmack, explorer, in front of a cabin in Yukon, Canada, around 1897. He was connected to the discovery of gold in the Klondike River, which sparked the Gold Rush and drew thousands of prospectors. Doc Holliday, at the age of 20, graduated in dentistry in March 1872. Known as a dentist and a legendary figure of the Wild West, he became famous for his involvement with Wyatt Earp and as a poker player. His health, weakened by tuberculosis, made his future uncertain. Cheyenne Indian Police, around 1880. Formed to maintain order on their lands, they often balanced tribal traditions and the demands of the U.S. government. These forces were essential during the cultural transition after the end of the Indian Wars. The Cheyenne people have a rich history, being one of the largest native groups in the Great Plains of the United States. The main street of Prescott, Arizona, in 1877 was the heart of the city, full of commerce and activity. Prescott was the first capital of the state before Phoenix, and its growth was driven by the discovery of gold in the nearby hills. Joe LaForce was a famous sheriff of the Wild West, recognized for his bravery and skills as a bounty hunter. In 1899, he was known for his effectiveness in fighting crime on the American frontier. Mexican House, Ranchita, in New Mexico, photo taken around 1880. During this period, the state was adapting after the annexation by the U.S. in 1848, and Mexican culture still deeply influenced the region. M. Camp Wagon during a rodeo in Texas, around 1900. Rodeo practice began in the 19th century in the U.S. West, when cowboys trained cattle skills in community events like these, which later became popular across the country. J.M. Webster and his family, Wyandotte, Kansas, captured in 1867. Wyandotte was one of the first settlements in the state, with a rich history connected to Native Americans. gathered around barrels at Kelly's Saloon in Bijou, Round Pond, Oklahoma Territory, January 1894. The place was known as a popular meeting spot of the time, reflecting saloon culture in the West. Camp in the Arizona Desert, recorded in 1871. At the time, the state was still in the process of colonization and growth, with many pioneers establishing settlements in the arid territory. Arizona would become an official U.S. state in 1912. Imagine a time when the vast American plains were dominated by herds of bison that seemed endless. These majestic creatures were called Thunder of the Plains, and their role was central to the lives of native tribes. But in less than a century, this symbol of the Great Plains nearly vanished. How did this happen? Let's find out. In the early 1800s, the United States was rapidly expanding westward. This expansion brought settlers in search of land, wealth, and opportunities. At the same time, the trade of hides, leather, and bison meat grew exponentially. However, this exploitation marked the beginning of a devastating decline. After the Civil War, the arrival of railroads transformed the landscape of the Great Plains. New towns emerged, trains cut across the land, and telegraph lines connected the country. But with progress came destruction. The herds, which once numbered in the tens of millions, were systematically wiped out. For the native tribes, the bison was not just a source of food. It provided clothing, shelter, and had a deep spiritual significance. The tribes used every part of the animal, maintaining a sustainable balance with nature. But this harmony was destroyed. With the arrival of European settlers, hunting was done on a mass scale. Hides and tongues were taken to the market, while the carcasses were left to rot. In contrast, indigenous practices were based on necessity, with respect for the bison as an essential part of life. Between the 1870s and 1880s, commercial hunting reached catastrophic levels. Thousands of bison were killed daily, many by hunters supported by the government. The U.S. Army encouraged this massacre as a way to weaken native peoples by depriving them of their main source of livelihood. A pile of bison skulls could reach the size of small mountains, symbolizing the brutal scale of this destruction. At the height of the massacre, the bison population, once estimated at around 60 million, was reduced to just a few hundred. Small surviving herds were preserved by private ranchers and in Yellowstone National Park. This remaining population became the foundation for the species' recovery. But the cultural and environmental impact was irreversible. During this time, figures like Buffalo Bill Cody became famous not only for their skill with weapons, but also for turning bison hunting into a major public spectacle. Cody, with his Wild West show, took bison hunting to the stage, attracting crowds and promoting a form of glorification of mass hunting. He himself was one of the most successful hunters, killing thousands of bison during his career. For many, bison hunting became an economic activity, with big hunters competing for hides and the animal's meat.